And welcome to the Monomoy Regional School District School Committee meeting. Today is Thursday, January 23rd. We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:15. Whoops. The meeting will be broadcast to Channel 22 as well as live streamed and recorded to the MRSC YouTube channel. Our first item on the agenda is to adjourn to executive session. We'll take a roll call vote to adjourn to executive session pursuant to MGLC 30A, Section 21A3, to conduct strategy sessions with respect to collective bargaining. Regular open session to resume at approximately 6:30 p.m. Mr. Schiff.
Aye.
Oh, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Schiff.
Aye.
Mr. Clark. Ms. Long.
Aye.
Ms.
Aye.
Sankey.
Aye.
Ms. King.
Aye.
And the chair is an aye. We will excuse ourselves to executive session. 6:16. Good evening. We will call our meeting back to order at 6:33 p.m. And the next item on our agenda is the MRHS Student Report Representative. Where's Chase?
There he is. Hello.
Hi.
It's like you're in the corner here. Okay.
You can adjust that if you want to.
I'm back. I don't know, it's like fifth time or something. Really happy. It's the new year, January. Very exciting time for me. I always kind of love the restart, new year. We're heading into the second semester here at the high school, and I'm assuming across all the other schools. So it's been a very kind of interesting, hopeful, cheery time so far, and I'm happy to be here yet again to give you a report. So I'm going to kind of start off going back to December. Honestly, don't even remember exactly what I told you because that was like more than a month ago. So I'll just kind of go over some stuff. Back on December 18th, there was the Celebration of Excellence event that was held in the morning, and it celebrated students who got either awards or they were AP scholars, people who are part of the Project Lead the Way program, which is a STEM, curriculum. That's what you call it. And students were recognized for their excellence there. And also anyone who received the John and Abigail Adams scholarship. I forget what the technical term for that is, but it's a scholarship, and it's a kind of a high recognition. I think it's based off of MCAS scores, and there was a lot of students who got that as well. I was part of that. Very cool. It was a great event. They do events like that all the time, and it was a great morning, great celebration, seeing all the parents and everyone there. Then on December 20th, there was a little event held. It was just held in the school cafeteria. It was Novena de Navidad Latina. It was in part held by the Spanish teacher in the school, Claudia Barbeo, Profe. She is a fantastic teacher who has always kind of tried to spread and talk about Latin American culture here in the school. She's always been a big kind of representative of that here, and she helped hold this event, which is like it's a traditional, mainly Latin American holiday, where they kind of just talk about Christmas, and they talk about, I'm trying to remember the exact description of it. I looked this up, but I still, but just kind of celebration of family, of hope, and there's a lot of dancing, a lot of singing. It was held in the cafeteria here, and it looked like a lot of fun from the videos I saw. So it was really awesome that they had that opportunity here for anyone to come and visit. Then there was winter break, everyone's favorite time, right? Good 2 weeks almost. That was pretty good, I will say. It was very nice to have that time off. I feel refreshed and rejuvenated myself, and for anyone else who had that time off, I'm sure you feel pretty good too. Then let's get to the alumni show. I've talked about it so many times. On January 3rd, I went to it, and it was fantastic. Actually, it was genuinely fantastic. So happy that I went. Any of you went, I hope you had a good time. And if you didn't go next year. Because it was really great to kind of go and see all these students, all these, obviously people who graduated come back, play, and kind of integrate into the students who still go here, and kind of just have a multitude of different performances, whether you're talking about solos, all the guitars, all the pianos, everyone. They had big, jazz sessions. They had pretty much everything you can imagine. And it was a really, really fantastic show that really just immerses you so much into kind of the power and the importance of the arts and of music, and just kind of seeing everyone together, like generations come together and just jam it out was obviously really fantastic. And I think that it's so important that we have that, we hold that, and that we continue doing that for years and years to come. So very appreciative of that. Then we get into this month, and I do know that robotics, which I don't feel like I have ever mentioned before, but we have a robotics team here at Monomoy, and they participated in the Mashpee Middle High School robotics tournament, and they got into the qualifying event, and though unfortunately they came up short in the quarterfinals, they're still competing in the Nauset League competition. So that's pretty cool. They're making their way through things, It's a pretty hard thing to do, design your own robots, and that is part of that Project Lead the Way kind of mindset, and really pushing STEM and pushing, these thinkers and these people who are really good with hands-on things to build our future, because we need that. We really need that as we become more technologically advanced, and having these things, robotics, leagues, kind of, it makes it a bit of a sport, makes it a bit fun, but also really teaches people these valuable things, these valuable lessons ultimately that hopefully will make our future better and better. So it was really great to hear about that. And they will be having, Monomoy will be hosting the showdown in the Shark Tank on February 1st to welcome all 24 teams coming from around the state. So it's going to be a pretty big competition on February 1st. So hopefully some of y'all will be there. I don't know how open the doors are for people to come in. I'm not really that smart with robotics myself, but sounds like a cool event, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. And also just checking out robotics. It's cool. It's cool. Then we'll get into another fantastic thing that was held, and this was Sanskrit, the creative writing club here. I'm part of it. I'm the president. I dearly love it. It's a really fantastic place to kind of curate this home of like authors and just people who really love writing. They held an open mic event during JOSM, so students or anyone really, teachers, faculty, whoever felt comfortable enough to stand in front of 20, 30 students and test the waters. They went up there, they read poems, they sang songs, whatever they'd liked. It was a really great time. It was on January 13th, and they're planning to hold hopefully another one soon in the spring. But it was just really kind of a nice platform for writers and for people who maybe have felt maybe a little even uncomfortable kind of with their writing to really get up there, stand for what they would love to write, and get applause, get reaction, and get people's opinions even on things, and really grow and continue to experience things as a writer. I think they're great events. I read some things myself, and I just really cherish those moments, and I'm so grateful that we have Sanskrit and we have events like those. And this is what I just stole right from the school's Instagram, but some students attended the first Inspire Youth Leadership Institute at Worcester State. It's a civic engagement institute dedicated to fostering leadership and social responsibility among high school students across Massachusetts. That's pretty cool. Didn't know about that. I checked the Instagram. I did. Useful tool. So good job on y'all for having that. It was really good. That was on January 16th. It looked really cool from the pictures I saw, I will say. All right, now we're getting to more recent stuff that I did actually have involvement in. I know. Real rare these days, right? There was the Breakfast for a Cause the other last Friday on the 17th. That was part of Interact Club, and I think Key Club also threw in some stuff there. It was essentially a teacher and faculty breakfast we held here at the school in the Teacher's Lounge to help raise money for a charity that's helping with the wildfires out in California. Because obviously there's a hugely devastating thing that's happening, and some teachers and people just wanted to really give into that cause. And at Interactive Club specifically, we kind of helped set that up with Key Club. We raised $340, and then I think Key Club said they're going to match it, so we're going to be sending well over $600, almost $700 to that, which doesn't sound like a lot, but let's be honest, every cent counts. That is a huge issue, and even though it's one of many, I think it's great that we at least have part of that participation. So very excited about that. Then the class of 2025, my grade seniors, we're having some last-ditch efforts to make money. We held a bake sale last Saturday. I was there at Stop and Shop. We raised some really good money from that as well. I think that was over $600 just that day. And then we're holding another one still, even though I'm the only person signed up to volunteer for it right now. So we'll see how far it goes. But we have another one coming up soon on this Saturday at the Chatham Community Center, and we're hoping to raise some more money there, and hopefully you'll come and buy some baked goods made by parents in the district, so it was some good stuff last time, I will say, some good cookies, and a few whoopie pies, someone made those. It's really impressive, honestly, and definitely recommend coming out. Okay, now we get finally to this week. I know, I bored you so long to get to this day. So recently, it was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and this is also from the school's Instagram, but a student, Chloe Thompson, who I know, she's been fantastic. I've known her for many years, but she spoke at the annual MLK breakfast that morning. I think it's held at Nauset. It's a church, I believe, but it is just an event to obviously honor King and his fantastic work and the real importance of what he did in the civil rights movement that has still continued to this day and is still such a important and critical thing that really has helped to develop our nation and develop the world into a much kinder and more representative place. And I think it's really important to fight for equality for all, and I think it's fantastic that there are events like that, and that we have MRHS students taking part in that, and making sure that that dream continues and lives on, and hopefully will, be not just a distant thing in the future or some dream, but really a reality, So I think it's fantastic to hear that, and I'm so proud of her because she's just a fantastic person, definitely deserving of doing that, and for anyone who really, can take part in something like that. It was really great to hear that. And then this week is also midterms, so that's been fun. My last time as a senior here at Monomoy, taking these midterms, and I'll go off to college where they do all the other fun stuff, make finals, this, that, whatever, half your classes, semester, whatever it's called, but midterms, it's really great. Hasn't been that stressful this year, but I know a lot of people have, had some, it's been really overwhelming, and to those people, obviously, I think it's very important to just take things step at a time, to not kind of get ahead of yourself, to just try your best. It's only 10% of your grade, just only. It is hard. They are hard, but you've learned and you've lived, and hopefully, you did your best, and whatever comes of it, and you still got another half a year to go. So there you go. And then that also obviously brings into the beginning of the second semester, kind of how I started. I'm very kind of excited to see how quarter 3 and quarter 4 go. Obviously as a senior, there's a lot of things that are coming down the line now. But I think also for everyone in the school, kind of getting over this hump and kind of like moving on, hopefully, it'll get harder, but it'll also be a time to kind of move on and kind of, get through things, and then you get to summer vacation, you can kind of relax, then you're back in the war, so then you're back into things, but it's a good time. I think that it's very exciting to be getting into the second semester, and I'm very hopeful for the rest of the year. Then to bring things back to Interact Club, they are also doing another Youth Street Reach volunteer at the First Baptist Church in Hyannis. It's a Youth Street Reach is an organization that helps those who are homeless. They do clothing and kind of a breakfast, I think at least once a month. It's a really fantastic group. They do some fantastic work. We here at the school help collect and donate clothing to them, and then a lot of our students go and volunteer for the breakfast, which you have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, get there at 6, and then it's a long day sometimes, but it's really rewarding. It's really fantastic, and I think volunteering in general is so important. And I would really recommend anyone, student or not, to go out, volunteer, and really try to make a difference in this world, even in the small ways, even in just those little steps. Okay. Then we also talk about another thing that I've brought up way too many times. Monomoy Writes, my favorite website, the thing that I manage. I'm the president of Sanskrit, but I'm also the co-editor of the newspaper, so I'm here to push it a lot. This is, it's my whole legacy here, so that's why I push it so hard. It's a fantastic website, though. It is called Monomoy Writes, WRITES, I think I spelled that right. And it is just a collection of newspaper articles and poems from students in the school, stuff that would usually get put into the Sanskrit magazine at the end of the year, or articles relating to school events and stuff. It's all there. It's all online. It's all easy to access, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done, both those clubs and of course myself. It's been interesting trying to kind of get that off the ground, but it's a really great place with so much to read, really. And I would highly recommend checking out some of the writing on there, because some of it is just so impactful and so important, and I think it's important to support our writers, especially in this day and age. It's really a difficult, it's kind of a difficult thing to get into, because everything's so video focused and so fast paced, but writing, sitting down and reading something really does matter. And then I'm just going to launch us way into the future, but talking about alumni and stuff in the future. The spring music will be Mamma Mia. I know it's very popular, so you want to check that out when it comes out in March. And then in April, it is the Pops concert, which plays a bunch of really great pop songs in concert form. So they do a good job with that, though. I've been there many times. And that's it. There you go.
Awesome.
Hopefully I didn't talk too fast.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful.
Any questions?
Great job as always. Thank you so
Great
much.
update. Great
Yeah.
school spirit.
Yep, love it.
We'll move into the public comment section of the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and when you come to the podium, if you could give your name and address for the public record. Anybody? Okay.
She's always a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
Ryan Edwards, Hillcrest Drive in Harwich. I know that last meeting, the school committee voted to keep the integrated preschool program at HES. However, the integrated preschool classroom assignment recommendation for next year presented only 3 sessions: a 3-year-old only AM session, a 4-year-old only AM session, and a combined 3 and 4-year-old PM session. The budget then presented a slide that showed a budget reduction of 1.5 FTE integrated preschool positions. I know that the 1.0 FTE reduction is from the elimination of the preschool IL program. What I am wondering is if the 0.5 FTE reduction is from the elimination of one of the PM preschool sessions at HES, or because there will no longer be an integrated preschool program in Chatham. I'm also asking for further explanation as to why the number of sessions changed in the classroom assignment recommendation from the December 12th presentation to the January 9th preschool presentation. During the December 12th preschool presentation, the move all preschool to CES and move all preschool to HES both had 4 sessions. Then during the January 9th preschool presentation, there were only 3 sessions, 2 AM programs and 1 mixed age group PM session. While I understand that there were only 13 SWD preschool students known about at the time of the presentation, there was also a slide that showed a historical trend for SWD students for each school year. If you average the 12 years shown in the historical trend, it comes out to just over 28 SWD preschool students per year, which is 7 more students than the classroom assignment recommendation of 3 sessions with spots for 21 students. I am also asking for clarification regarding the number of students in the IL program if the district eliminates the preschool IL program. There was a slide at the January 9th meeting that reported that there were 12 intensive SWD students in the preschool IL program in 2022-2023. One would assume that these 12 intensive SWD students would still be in the IL program at HES next year. I'm questioning how one IL program teacher can be expected to teach those existing 12 intensive SWD students plus the additional students with the closure of the preschool IL program. Lastly, during the budget presentation, there was a discussion about leaving a placeholder in the budget for the new Chatham preschool opportunity. It was discussed that it was easier for the budget to go down than it is for the budget to go up. With that same thought, I question why we are not leaving placeholders in the budget for an integrated preschool program that has 4 sessions, a 3-year-old only AM and PM program, and a 4-year-old only AM and PM program. Doing so would allow enough space for the average number of students that the historical trends would predict. Again, with that same thought, I question why we are not leaving a placeholder in the budget for the preschool IL program in case there are more intensive SWD students next year than we currently know about. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Christy Lynn, Harwich. I'm here as a Harwich resident, a parent of 2 Monomoy students, and a parent of future Monomoy students. My concerns are regarding the preschool program, particularly now that it is to be in Harwich, why there is a reduction in one of the sessions. You know, as Ryan has stated, looking at the historical data, the number of students typically in the program is over 25, which would kind of basically be for 4 full sessions. That was pre and post-COVID, with the highest numbers being pre-COVID and the COVID bubble that was mentioned in the prior meetings. When you look at that, my concerns are really looking at the fact that with this new configuration, you're really limiting the number of slots for SWDs. You know, I know the numbers for EI up to June 2025 are accounted for, but what about the numbers from July 2025 to June 2026? As it was stated previously, EI referrals are rolling all year round, so to not consider the fact that historically, the preschool program has had a minimum of about 25 students over the last 10 years. And basing it just on a number that ends at June but not accounting for the rest of the school year, I think I look at whether or not you're going to end up having to start another session mid-year. I also, want you to consider looking at the fact that it would also limit the number of peer slots available, which would kind of be a disservice to the community that really loves and respects this program. In 2022, the preschool was regionalized for budgetary reasons. Then 2 years later, it was reinstated back in Chatham. It seems that there's a pretty good historical trend of deleting programs only to end up having to recreate the same programs a couple years later. I wonder what the cost of that is, whether you're able to get the teachers, now that we're in a teacher shortage, and whether those teachers have the appropriate licensure to run those programs. In the last presentation, it looks like there are now 3 Chatham SWDs. That is what is currently in the Chatham preschool program. So I wonder if now that there are more Chatham SWDs, if looking at maybe maintaining the Chatham program, even though I know we decided the relocation would be in Harwich, but now that there are more students. I'm also concerned with the elimination of the preschool I program due to the fact that it services, as the name implies, the district's youngest, most vulnerable, and most intensive special needs students. And in December 16, 2021, the program was first proposed, and it was stated that the program was necessary to provide IEP services that could not be done in the classroom. It was also stated that you could not have students who were 48 months apart in one classroom, and that is also a DESE special ed regulation.
And we're at about 3 minutes.
Okay. So, my questions are, if you absolve that program and all the students are put into another program, what is the number of the current students and the current students expected for the next school year in the ISLE program? And then look at the workload that you're going to be putting on that teacher to differentiate, oversee staff for 7 different grade levels. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Jesse Malloy. I am a grade 6 social studies teacher at Monomoy Regional Middle School. I am also the president of the Monomoy Regional Education Association. So I rise here tonight in my role as the MREA president to talk about contracts. As educators, we have an agreement, a contract with this school committee to guide the very important work that we all do, committee included, to provide the best possible education for the students of our communities. Teaching and learning is complex, challenging, and wonderful. It takes a lot. And our agreement reflects that. It's dense, parts of it are legalese, but it's the agreement that we bargained together at the table. As Article 2, Section B notes, the association and the committee acknowledge that during the negotiations which resulted in the agreement, each had the unlimited right and opportunity to make demands and proposals with respect to all proper subjects of bargaining, that all subjects have been discussed and negotiated, and that the agreements contained in this agreement were arrived after free exercise of such right and opportunities. The association and the committee therefore voluntarily and without qualifications waive any rights each may have had in this respect, end quote. With that in mind, it is shameful that during the school committee meeting on November 21st, while discussing a sabbatical request that was made by a member of the MREA, that committee members demonstrated little regard for our agreement. Numerous times, committee members asked or discussed the need for a policy around sabbatical or what would happen if more than one person applied. It was even asked, quote, I know what the contract is, but what do we have a policy on sabbatical? Of course we have a policy. It's our contract. The policy for sabbatical requests or what to do if more than one person requests one is Article 12, Section A through J, which by my count is about 680 words. All of those words should have been read and thought about by each and every member of this committee before casting its deciding vote. It is part of our agreement, our contract, and our promise to each other and our communities to shape the working conditions that are our students' learning conditions and that ultimately lead us to creating the schools that our communities deserve. Through your ignorance of your own contract, you cast a chilling effect on the application for sabbaticals and appear to have repudiated the agreement. Sabbatical is a benefit that was agreed to voluntarily and without qualifications at the negotiation table. This school committee must do right by its educators and communities by respecting our words as memorialized in our agreement. Read it, refer back to it, and when you have ideas about how to improve our schools, sit down with us at a table so we can agree and disagree and work collaboratively to do our best by both our needs and desires to create, as we like to say at the middle school, the world's best schools. I strongly urge you to reconsider your request for sabbatical and do right by the member and by the contract that we, the committee, and the association share. Thank you.
And do we have anyone else for public comment tonight? No? Okay. We will move on to reports and discussions. And the first item is the fiscal year 26 budget update and the fiscal year 26 budget hearing.
Good evening, school committee. Mike McMillan, school business manager. This is just a verbal update because the state budget was released on yesterday, so on Wednesday, and so there wasn't time in order to update all our budget figures, but I just wanted to let you know that had come out. There's sort of three key numbers in there for us. One is the Chapter 70 funding, which is a little higher than we'd expected, which is good. The minimum local contributions, which are important as they influence through our formula how much each town pays assessed to help fund the budget. And that, I'll provide the detail, but, from a quick look, it looks like that does shift some of the assessment from Harwich to Chatham this time. Often, in all the years gone by, it's either had little effect or it's moved it the other way, increased Harwich as the cost, as it reduced Chatham's. But this year, it looks like Harwich's assessment will go down as a result of this change, whereas Chatham's will go up. That's the direct impact of the minimal contribution, and then Chapter 70 change will also affect that and help to bring assessments down. That's the state budget numbers, and I'm just we will apply those to the budget and provide an updated report at our next meeting, which will include the public hearing. There's the other number in there is the foundation enrollment, and we actually use it a year, so that will actually impact next year's, because you use the average of the previous 3 years, but that will impact next year's budget. So that's on the state budget. I just want to, to just give you a heads up about what else is coming on. So we are, been talking to the Director of Student Services about out-of-district tuition, and we may see an increase there in the budget, so that may offset some of those reductions we're seeing due to the increase in state funding. That's all due to come, but I just wanted to let you know.
Questions? Nothing on healthcare yet?
Not yet. I think it's a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Hopefully before our public hearing. And so the next meeting will be the public hearing when will be open to the public, and they'll be able to come in here, and then we'll have a further discussion at school committee, and then a couple of weeks after that we'll be able to get a vote of the school committee to go to the Times.
Any other questions? Thank
All right.
you, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sure. And just a reminder for the timeline for the hearing, on the 13th is 6 to 7, and then the school committee meeting will start at 7. The next item on the agenda is reporting out on the January 9th, 2025 executive session. Dr. Carpenter's contract is ending on June 30th of 2025, and in that session, we voted to extend his contract 1 year to June 30th of 2026. So we do want to bring that vote to public session. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? The motion passes. And then our next item is to report on January 23rd, 2025 executive session, where we were talking about the agreed-upon terms for the SEIU MRSD Custodians Association, and we voted to approve that in executive session, so we'll bring that vote to public session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstain? That passes. The selection of owner's project manager for middle school siding project is next. Michael?
Yes. Good evening, school committee. Me again, Michael, school business manager. So, in your packs, very late, and I apologize, but we're kind of moving at a breakneck pace here on the middle school. So we're still, I'm not sure we've got an official title for this project, but it's Middle School Restoration Project is the working title we have, just because originally, we've been talking about siding, and we know that as the, discussions at school building committee have been going, the scope of the project is increasing. And I'm sure we'll come to talk to that later. However, in the update. However, this item is about selecting an owner's project manager for that project. So I included a memo in your papers which just describes the process. So under Mass General Law, any public construction project over $1.5 million requires the jurisdiction to hire an owner's project manager, and really their job is to be a kind of expert agent for the district, representing the district in relations with the designer, with the contractor, and with any other vendors that are involved, and helping to helping to manage the budget, manage the schedule, and keep everything online, and make sure what we want to get done is getting done. From my experience in previous projects I've worked on where we have an owner's project manager, they are enormously helpful because they bring a level of expertise we just don't have in the district in helping to manage the process. So we followed, as you remember when we hired the architect, we follow a similar process to hire an OPM, so it's not fee-based again, it's based on their qualifications. So we sent out a request for proposal, a request for qualifications, an RFQ it's called, just before Christmas. We had 4 firms send in applications. We reviewed them, so if we'd had a lot, we were planning to, Scott and I, our superintendent and I, along with the facilities director, were planning to filter down the number. But as we just did 4, we took all 4 of them to the school building committee, and we interviewed them all on Tuesday just gone. And using the criteria in their proposal, the committee ranked those 1 to 4. And the process is then, we hope to work with the number 1, and the superintendent and I met with them today to negotiate their fee. We were very happy with what their proposal was, and we worked out a structure to really protect the district from changes. And so that is the number 1 ranked vendor is one we'd like to go with. It's ECC Corporation. They are a relatively young company, but they have experienced staff with a broad experience that impressed the school building committee. I've also been in touch with 4 of projects they've worked on before, and they got glowing references from all of them, and they all said that they would work with that company again. And then when I talk about the fee, so what we agreed, there's just a lot of uncertainty about this project still. So although we have although we are getting a clearer idea about exactly what the project will involve, the timing of it is still to be nailed down. We still have to go to the select boards and town meetings. So we haven't done the construction procurement yet. So given that, we agreed with ECC, subject to your approval, that the initial agreement would just get us through to the end of June, really, get us through the kind of procurement process, finalize the scope of the project, get us through procurement, and that would be and so they kind of outlined an hourly rate, or hours they would work, and a rate, which is all in your pack, and cost would not to exceed $32,200. So but they're just going to charge us by the hour. So essentially, if the scope increases beyond what we planned, we can come back and renegotiate with them. But if it's less, if for some reason the project paused while we get agreement somewhere and they're working less, then we don't get charged for it. So rather than have like a monthly retainer fee, we only have to pay them when they actually work for us. So the superintendent and I compared their fee using data available on the MSBA's website as to how much OPMs normally make. So we looked at 5 different projects, the rates OPM had made compared to the total project cost. In light of that, we were very comfortable with the rate that ECC proposed, and we had a really good. We had a really good chat with them today. I'm already impressed. They've already given us good ideas, and I'm really looking forward to working with them. Subject to your approval.
Any questions?
Michael, so the cap is about 32,000 and change.
Yeah.
That's through June 30th?
Yes.
But it's monitored on an hourly basis, too?
Yes. So they'll just invoice us on an hourly basis and keep us up to date. So if it looks like we're, if for whatever reason we're spending money much faster than we thought, then we'll come back to the table and see what needs to change. And if more slowly, then that's all for the good. And then, assuming all things going according to plan, that we are moving into construction, then at that point, or around that point, we will sit down with them and renegotiate and plan for how the construction process is it's very different from the planning process, because we are planning for them to have somebody on site to keep an eye on the project. They have a clerk in the works on site, and so that will really be determined by the structure of how the construction is going to happen, or any phasing that's going to happen. So we'll make sure we have somebody doing quality control whenever work's happening, and so that will be what we'll negotiate in the next part of the project.
Thank you. So because this is part of the FY25 budget, so speaking about placeholders, so we've got a spot in this?
So we do, yes, we do. And that is, so we have, when we budgeted in the budget, we included money for this project,
Okay.
and this will be covered by that.
Okay.
We do have, so for future school committee meeting, when we start to talk about the debt, so when we issue debt, we can use any funds that were for this project, we can pay off with the debt. So there's a possibility when we borrow, we can pay these design fees off and not hit the general fund. But that's a future discussion.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because we borrowed, $10 million, whatever it is, to do this project. Well, some of these costs are part of this project. And our bond council, we met with them recently, and they said, you can pay for these costs using that debt, even though they precede the debt being raised. But, so we'll come back to that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Yep. Okay. So we are looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Motion that the district enter into a contract with ECC Corporation for owner's project manager services for the middle school restoration project.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
That's okay. Next up are our first readings for policy.
Would you need to start?
Thank you, sorry.
That's okay. Good evening, everyone. Robin Millen, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Assessment and Instruction. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Policy Committee. As I discussed last time we met, we have to make some changes to our competency determination based off the election and the new statutes for the state of Massachusetts. We no longer can use the MCAS assessment, the state assessment, for any student who has not previously been certified before the December 5th, 2024 enactment of the law. And so if you have been certified prior to that law, you will still have your competency determinations. If you weren't certified, we have to write we had to decide whether or not to write a policy to make those requirements. So I met with the policy committee last week, and they did decide to draft a policy. We did review multiple drafts from across or across the Cape and also off Cape. People are in different various places of adopting policies and procedures, so I didn't want to necessarily post all those because they are just still in draft form, but it does reflect what most of our local partners are doing across the Cape. So we have, for your consideration, to decide if you would agree on this competency determination for 25 and 26, and then beyond 26, all students would have to fill this requirement because they have not been certified previously under the competency determination before the law was enacted. So essentially, and we have been in discussions with the high school as well, so essentially what we are saying is that to get the competency determination at Monomoy, you must pass 2 out of the 3 science courses, which are representative of the MCAS. What the law says is physics, chemistry, and/or biology. Passing grades in 2 out of the 3 mathematics courses, which is Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. Passing grades in ELA 9 and 10, and then passing grades in both World History and U.S. History. The committee also included, reserves the right to substitute. So if we have students who move in, there'll be a coursework review, a transcript review, and if there's something there that is equivalent to these recommendations, we will be able to substitute those courses for that. We had some courses even here, like AP U.S. History, that would also suffice for the History 1 and History 2, so there's some substitution allowed in the language of the policy draft. And then also about like a grievance procedure. So if you aren't awarded a competency determination and you disagree, it would go to the principal. From the principal, it would go to the superintendent. So there is a like a procedural opportunity as well to arbitrate the decisions. So this is nothing to do with the graduation requirement that is stated in the Monomoy handbook. That is staying in the handbook. It will stay as a procedure. This is just for the competency determination.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. When we say passing, what does that mean? Is that a 60, 70, C, D? What does that mean?
So right now in the Monomoy Regional High School handbook, it is a 60.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, this will come back for a second reading. Where's the second policy? Oh, right there. The next policy is the first reading of policy file ADDA, fingerprint-based criminal history record information, CHRI checks for non-criminal justice purposes, CORI requirements, DCF Central Registry.
Madam Chair, the policy subcommittee would like to send the policy 88 back for review. What we want to, it's recommended that we add the SORB, which is a sex offender registry board, to the policy. And we currently conduct this as part of a CORI check, but it is not in our policy currently. So we'd like to take it back, make that change, and next month's policy subcommittee meeting, and we'll bring it back for first reading.
Awesome, thank you. We are not going to go over the possible Massachusetts School Building Association update tonight. We will move on to the equity audit process.
So I have a one-slide presentation for you. Last night, we met with our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Belonging Advisory Council, or frequently just called the Diversity Council, to meet and start discussing the equity audit. If you recall, there's a school committee goal that has us conducting an equity audit. Earlier in the year, I went through and looked at every school district in Massachusetts that has done an equity audit. What were the domains that they were looking at? Who did they use? There were 2 districts in the state that used an organization called the Mid-Atlantic Equity Consortium. They seem to, I think, do a great job with their equity audits, but they were also an organization that did a lot of follow-up work with the districts afterwards to help the districts in implementing improvements to go address any concerns that came out of that audit process. So we were lucky to be taken on board as a partner, and I give Robin and Joy a lot of credit, thanks to be in these conversations with them with me. And last night was, on some level, our kickoff with the Diversity Committee. We had the organization, MAAC, met with the admin team virtually last week, and we kind of kicked it off with the admin team in terms of what we'll be doing and where we'll be going with this. And we had the kickoff meeting last night with Diversity Council. So I just want to walk the committee through the process, but I also want to share with the committee that we are getting this equity service is being covered by a grant through MAC. So it's not costing the school district money to do this. I am a little concerned, as I think several are, that there have been a number of executive orders that might impact funding, that impacts funding. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that we'll be able to continue going down this line with them, and that grant money doesn't disappear along the lines. That being said, we will continue over the course of from now through the end of this process until we come forward with a finalized report to the school committee, meeting with our diversity council monthly, and they'll help steer and guide this process. We will be kicking off probably shortly after the February vacation, the first phase of the equity audit. So what I've provided to the committee is sort of the tool that they use. So it covers in this a number of things, everything from looking at school committee policies or school district policies that that are supporting equity issues, to the budget, to staffing, and then it gets down to really what's happening in classrooms and what's happening in terms of teacher and student interactions. So it is a very thorough tool. The first piece of this that you see will be happening at the building level. So they will come in and work with and train a team at the building to, and you can think of a dozen members of this team that would include teachers and administrators and parents and community members. So think of what, like a school council that would bring in some additional members to go and have that diversity, would go look at the school in our district at each building. Then after that data sort of goes back out and is analyzed, while that's going on, we will have a second phase of this, which is this climate survey. So this is just the first equity tool. There's a separate climate survey tool that'll, again, go out to teachers and students and parents and community members and administrators, so that you'll get survey responses from everyone. That data gets analyzed, and then based on what we're seeing in the data, it'll come back to the Diversity Council, and there may be areas that we want to dig deeper into it. So built into this is to have them come and do some specific interviews with subgroups that we identify, that here are some spots that we want to kind of understand more about what's going on. So we'll have interviews that'll happen later in the spring. All of that information will kind of be taken, triangulated, and ultimately I would say during the summer or end of the school year, summertime, that'll all get put into a presentation, And ideally, end of the summer, our first meeting in September, we'll be coming with that final report that has all those components brought back to you. And then that report would have action items that we would want to then move forward and address as a district. But again, I'm very grateful to MAC for partnering with us. We're one of 2 school districts that they took on as partners this year. They took on Monomoy and Plymouth Public Schools. So they've gotten a little grouping between Falmouth, Martha's Vineyard, Plymouth, and Monomoy on this region of the state.
That's great. Questions? No question, just a comment. I love this analogy. It's so simple, and it's clear. I just wanted to say that. I really, really like that analogy.
Would you like to read the analogy?
Do you want me to, for the public?
I don't think the public can see the analogy.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was part of the packet. So it says, what is an equity audit? An analogy. So there's a service providing shoes. Equality means everyone gets a pair of shoes. Equity means everyone gets shoes that fit. In the equity audit, part of that, well, it's determining, number 1, who everyone is. Number 2, what constitutes shoes. And then number 3, creating decision-making processes for how fit is identified and evaluated. I just think that's very clear. I like it. I like it a lot. Very simple, very clear.
Anybody else, any questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Carpenter. That's exciting. The next item is the 24-25 goal update, and just a quick verbal, just because this is one of our goals. We thought this is a great time to just kind of check in and look at where we're at. And the first goal that we had is advocating for affordable and attainable housing to recruit and sustain high-quality teachers and staff, monitor and address any housing challenges that might affect student enrollment, causing families to leave the area. Any updates, Jack?
Well, along with Dr. Carpenter and a couple of students, we did attend the housing conference, just to see what we could gain from that experience. For that goal.
Any questions? Okay. Another goal is MRSC will recognize and highlight Monomoy's decade of success in educational thought leadership and student achievement. I don't know if that was the...
Trying to remember what was underneath.
Can you read that again, Betty?
Yeah.
Yeah, the MRSC will recognize and highlight Monomoy's decade of success in educational thought leadership and student achievement. This was something, I think, Brad, that you had initiated with supporting the community engagement coordinator and development of public relations and local media campaign on a quarterly basis.
You know, it really would be something to build off what our student representative is doing, because he is magnificent.
Yeah, he is.
And I'm just wondering if some of the things that he is going to be speaking about can be brought in here as a couple of examples to be able to talk more about it rather than going through. And he does a spectacular job. I've never seen anybody recap anything like this before. But that way, it can be even highlighted here and broadcast here. Because I think just the things that he brings to light are just so terrific, and it's just such a vibrant community and so many different things going on. And I'm just wondering if we can speak to him about, you know, bringing a couple of people who could talk a little bit more about it, or give an example rather, because he's kind of an observer of what's going on versus, you know, somebody who's actually doing it. That would be a suggestion that I would have.
Yeah, excellent. Anybody else? Jackie?
Well, I would just also comment that, you know, we still have Joy, who does all of our outreach and such currently, and I'm wondering if somehow, I mean, I don't want to do a lot of duplication.
Right.
But somehow making those two come together. Because I feel like this is an initiative, but we don't actually have we haven't really started much on it. And I think that's what Brad's kind of highlighting too, like we're at a starting point with that. So status is still a goal. What are our action items on it? I'm feeling like we kind of haven't done anything yet on that.
And it's a good time to do it too, because now we're going to be in the stretch run for the school year. A lot of things have been done. Other things are yet to be done, but, as we go into February through the spring, it'd be a great time to be able to do that.
And I would also say that based on the last couple months of budget and building committee, the biggest thing I've heard about feedback and communication and transparency, which we do our best we can, is social media, and to really utilize that. So I think that's what I'm hearing too. We need to use social media more, those platforms.
Great idea.
And look at what we're doing with those, so really emphasizing kind of those pieces.
Great idea. Oh, Mary's. Oh.
I just have to say, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure over the last few months since we've had our Portrait of a Graduate really established, the different areas of the Portrait of a Graduate have been displayed, if you will, or posted about with current things that are happening in our schools, and then it's connected with a different piece of the Portrait of a Graduate. So maybe that's just a place we can, look back at, and because that's really our goal, right, is so that we're...
It is, and that makes sense, because then it ties it all together and groups it all
Right,
back
but
in.
it's current, so I mean, like, there was original posters made when we first came out with it that, obviously are on walls somewhere, but they're being updated constantly, at least I see.
Yep.
So that's definitely something that we could connect to build more around this goal.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, or maybe say, we had talked at one time about interviewing our students. I think we did. And every time Jason speaks, what I love about the way he presents, it's very conversational. It's very, like you're in the experience with them. And I'm curious, I know we do a great job internally, and I'm just thinking like Channel 18, because social media is wonderful, but I know a lot of our older population may or may not be on social media, and I'm just curious about Channel 18 and having this nice little conversation with somebody like Jason. Tell us about your experience. And I just think it speaks volumes, because we all feel his enthusiasm, and I would love our folks out in the community to feel it as much as we do.
I think it's a great idea, and again, I remember when talking about this, is that the people who, you've got two audiences. First of all, you've got all those who are integrally involved in the school community, and that's the parents who have children, and the children are coming home and telling them, and they're involved, whether it's teams or clubs or, the different initiatives in school. But then you've got, given where we are, Harwich and Chatham, you get people who, their children long ago have gone to school, and they're not all on top of what's happening in the school. And then they go to town meeting and they have to vote on the budget, which we've been working on, and maybe a higher increase. And they want to, well, what have we done though? And they're not tied in. They may not even know what the Portrait of a Graduate is, frankly.
Right.
And they probably don't. And they're concerned about, I'm voting for this, spending this money. We're spending this money for the middle school to be fixed, but they really don't know what's going on. And so originally when I was talking about that last summer, it was, how to help communicate that, because not all of them are on social media, and they're just not involved in what's going on in the school. It's not in their world, other than it's a line item in the budget, and of course, everybody's for great schools. But that is an opportunity, because there's a lot of people in Chatham and Harwich who don't have children, and they are not, this is almost a foreign world to them, what's going on in the schools.
Sure. Mayor?
I wonder if maybe some of us meet with Joy to see what's been put out to the community, because I know, I believe, because I think I got one, but it's a little blurry, a mailing went out to every resident in both towns about Portrait of Graduate.
No.
Parents.
Oh.
Parents. Never mind. It was parents. But maybe we could do something like that.
Jackie, didn't get it.
Yeah, and I was also just gonna echo what Brad said. I think sometimes some of the things we do is unrelatable to the general public. So we do need to circle that back in.
Yeah.
I think strategic planning and Portrait of a Graduate is a unique population of people who understand what strategic planning is. There's a lot of verbiage and dynamic pieces about it that people, it's like way over their head. And it's not that they don't understand other things, but it's a mechanism and it's a tool that we use, but a lot of people aren't versed in it. So Portrait of the Graduate, they in the literal sense, yes, but I think we need to do a little bit more explaining of how it's impact, like the direct, like more correlation, I guess I would say, like, and maybe that would be a branch of what we do. I do know on social media and such, constantly I'm seeing stuff about Portrait of the Graduate, and so I know it's out there, but if you don't know what that is, it's right over your head.
Agreed.
So.
Joy Jordan, Community Engagement Coordinator. I just wanted to clarify, it was the strategic plan that went to everybody.
Thank you, sorry. Sorry.
That went to everybody, meaning, who is everybody? Oh, sorry.
It went to all families and staff, and copies were made available at both town halls and both libraries and both community centers.
I knew there was a community connection. There you go. My brain is working a little bit. But maybe our first action step to continue that goal is to clarify what communication has been put out to the community and what we need to do to bring more understanding to our mission.
Make it more relatable.
Just from like the student perspective of things, I know, and I think social media has been great about this, the Portrait of a Graduate, but I was just wondering if, like, I don't know if you guys are in charge of this, but if we could focus on like talking about it more like actually in classes, because I know that a lot of people are kind of confused on what it is, and when we see like the students of the term come out, we're all like, we don't know like how to, we just want to like try to be, you know, so just, I don't know.
Thank you.
And I think, thank you, that's great feedback, and that speaks to what Brad and I were just saying too. We don't even think about our own students who may not truly understand what the Portrait of the Graduate is. They're like, oh, these are students of the term, well, how do I get that? You know, like,
What's that
like
mean?
they need a better understanding of what the Portrait of the Graduate is, and we miss that. Because it's intellectually maybe different. So, how it applies. And I don't know in what classroom you do that, and what class you do that, and you talk about it, but thank you. That was great feedback.
Anything else? Okay. Our goal number 4 is to, the MRSC will support discipline improvements at MRHS and MRMS using the restorative justice approach, resulting in a decrease in the overall number of incidents, and there's a few action steps there, and I know that we got some feedback from the principals just a few months in that it was heading in the right direction, which was great, so we should probably see if we could get them back in for an update.
Have
See how
them
that's
next week,
going.
or next meeting.
Next meeting.
That's
Okay.
great. Great.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think,
thank you.
The feedback that I've gotten has been extremely positive from staff and, and from the administration.
That's wonderful. Great. The last goal, number 5, the MRSC will review and support implementation of the strategic plan. Receive ongoing updates throughout the year that highlight the 3 key pillars: Portrait of a Graduate, being in wellness, learning, and academics, working with the administration to review professional development opportunities that are aligned with the strategic plan, including trauma-informed care and mental health support. Yes. Do you have your hand?
Oh, no, I was sorry, I was just leaning back.
Sorry.
But I'm thinking about it.
And again, we
So we
can
need a
provide a
report.
mid-year
Yeah.
update too on the
Yeah.
strategic plan.
Yeah, we need an update, yeah.
Okay. Those were the 5 goals.
We're doing great.
Chugging right along. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the subcommittee representative and liaison reports. The building committee is up next.
Do you want?
Okay, yeah, I can go.
Well, you start. I'll fill in.
She can fill in, okay, yeah. So, we had a lovely 4-hour meeting with the building committee.
Wow.
Yeah, there's
Is it like a workshop or a meeting?
lots to do.
As Michael noted, we interviewed the owner's project manager, the
okay.
OPM.
Okay.
I am cautiously optimistic that we'll never have a meeting that long again.
Wow. It's a long time.
Yeah, but it was a very, we've only had 2 meetings, both of our meetings have been extremely productive. We actually, and informative, and after the first meeting, we actually added a couple more members to the committee, including teacher representation from the middle school, the health department for both Harwich and Chatham, although they couldn't attend that meeting. And Ed McManus was present, which he wasn't at the first meeting, he's our co-chair. I'm trying to think if anyone else was there that wasn't the first time. Mary wasn't present the first one, she was there.
John Marsh and Richie Roy.
And John Marsh and Richie Roy, who were originally on the committee, they weren't in the first meeting, were in the second meeting. So there was about 21 of us, but it is a fantastic group. We did have the vendors speak. We interviewed them separately, one at a time. 2 were remote, one was part remote, part in, and the other one was fully there. I will say, everyone took notes, and then we kind of came to a very good consensus. I would say we had, across the board, the top 2, everyone was on the same page, choosing number 1 of ECC Corporation. Lots of thoughtful feedback and expertise at the table, great questions. I think that if for any reason we had to go to number 2, they just have different strengths. So they also would be a great choice if needed to be. But when you get to pick out of the 4, ECC really had a lot of unique features about them. One of the things I think we really liked was they're local, and they're working locally right now, working on the Nantucket Airport, they're working in Falmouth, they're working on buildings with similar climate to we have, and as we know, this is more of a restorative remediation project as well as siding. So that was really important for us to have someone that's really familiar with what's going on here on the Cape, and building materials, et cetera. We met the clerk of the works, who's really kind of the person on the ground. He was there to talk to and ask questions, and it's always nice to have a face, because that's the person you're really going to be going to. The operations manager, the head of the company, he did the presentation, was excellent, and then there was another gentleman who would actually be our operations manager, who was a project manager, he's on Nantucket doing the airport, and was excellent and really well-versed. They talked a lot about ways, looking at our change orders, looking at ways to find savings for us, looking at different potential things we could do regarding the MSBA funding, ways to use it, not to use it, to benefit us. So very creative thought. And obviously, we're not looking that we're going to maybe save money, but if we have to save money somewhere, it might help us do the other things we need to do during the project. And I think they have great ideas on like remediation, kind of an attack plan of what we're going to do before we start full work, the kind of testing they want to do. And I think other than that, we voted on windows. So windows are definitely going to be part of the restorative project, because there's just really no way around it constructionally, if you think about it. To be removing everything that we have to remove and not replace the windows would be senseless, because then you would still have the issue of the leaking. So we did vote as a building committee that would need to be part of the project. We've talked about HVAC, we've talked about educating the public, and being very transparent and using social media, and everyone in the building committee is fully on board for that. We've talked about insulation, we've talked about the differences in costs for renovation, restoration. So there's just a lot of information, but great group and lots of expertise, and I think we're in a good place. I think we did talk about possibly needing to rename it. It's not just going to be the siding project, it's going to be more of a restorative project, because that really kind of encaptures what we're doing. And also, I know Scott said he did a walk around of the building with the Chatham selectmen, and I know some of the Harwich have already done a walk around, and then we were at their meeting a couple weeks ago. So, there will be some monetary discussions, I'm sure, in the near future. Maybe?
One thing I'll add about the ECC Corporation that I think a lot of the members on the committee really enjoyed was the fact that their number one concern is the students and the staff in the building, and it is a project that is going to be not short-term, so it will disrupt some places in the building as the restoration happens.
Yeah.
So to really be thoughtful of how that affects the students and staff, and they talked a lot about that without being asked, so they offered that information. And then I think the other big thing that we talked about at our meeting was air quality testing. We've had a lot of parents reach out to many members on our committee, and you can add to this too, but we talked, it was a very long discussion about, what needs to be done, what has been done. They talked, the ECC Corporation talked about what they would do to ensure that they kind of knew what the air quality was and making it safe for students and staff. But there is a plan coming up, hopefully next week.
I think it's,
and I'm going to just pass the.
Yeah, I just want to, I totally went, I went over that update, but. Okay.
So just, before I get into air quality, just to be clear for the three people that might be watching us out there.
Might be 33.
Okay, so why windows? And, and one thing that I want to emphasize about the building committee we have, and I think I've mentioned this to some before, is when we built the high school, I think we had maybe one person who was really in the trades. The disproportionate number, or like the majority of this building committee are builders in our two communities. I mean, we have a team of rock stars on that. And what fundamentally has been going wrong at the middle school is that when the building was added to with the new addition, and when it was re-sided and the windows replaced on the original sort of quad area of the what at the time was the middle high school in Chatham, the windows weren't properly flashed. So the flashing that you would have underneath a window that you put in before you put the window in its place isn't there. So when water gets onto that window and potentially gets behind the surface layer, there's nothing to divert the water out of the building. That's why the building is prematurely aging on that outer facade. The builders unanimously in the room look at it that, if you do the siding, but you don't fix what fundamentally is the problem, which is the flashing, that's no bueno. And the only way to do that is to remove the windows so that you can fix the flashing. And if you remove 27-year-old windows, it doesn't make a lot of fiscal sense to put the windows back in when you can put in for similar money, because the bulk of the work is already done. You've taken the window out. You might as well put in new updated triple pane windows in their place that will last. Otherwise, you're partially fixing it and potentially going back to the towns in another 10 years to replace the windows anyway. So, so the group, I believe it was a 13-1 vote, supported moving forward with with it being a siding and windows project to make sure the project's done right. In terms of indoor air quality, one of the concerns that we've heard is, like, what if, what's in the walls? to address that. Michael and I met with the architects virtually. We met with the company Vertex that punched some of the holes punched all the holes on the outside of the building and did that study to do indoor cores, sort of in construction terms, it's more destructive testing, which is you go drill through, so they would drill through instead, drill through from the inside so that you can essentially take a plug out, be able to see, is the drywall compromised? And none of the coring that or the punch throughs that they had done from outside the building did they see an issue with the drywall being compromised. But just because it wasn't compromised in the spots that they initially went in doesn't mean that, 20 feet further along the facade. So, so the architects were talking about doing, upwards of 50 more core samples through the drywall. Again, much more easy to patch than going through all the external layers to see what's in the wall and get a better feel for, for that need. So that's one thing to kind of address concerns about air quality. The other thing that we'll be doing is, as Meredith and Jackie said, we're going to start a testing regime beginning the end of next week. We'll be working with a contractor, a mold specialist in Dennis. It's target inspections. I think the committee heard, people talk about doing, we must do disturbed air testing. And what disturbed air testing does is it approximates it. It would have you using fans to kind of approximate what a room in use would look like. When we've discussed with target inspections, their equipment's quiet enough. We'll be they'll be going in with one of our custodial staff and testing in the classrooms. We don't have to approximate what it's like to be in a classroom. They'll be testing in the classrooms without disturbing what's going on. So we'll be doing that at the end of next week. We've kind of tagged a chart that essentially is like every fourth space in the building. So they'll be coming in and doing 24 spaces within the middle school, which is about a quarter of the rooms of the middle school. They'll also be doing outside samples to go get a feel for what the mold is outside. The reality is that this time of year, outside buildings, if everything continues to be completely frozen up, mold should be, unless we have some sort of melt, mold should be pretty low. So to have another sort of control, I'll be having them go and test in 2 spaces in each one of our other schools. And I've talked with the health directors when I was speaking with them about, I'll reach out to the town managers, but ideally test in a couple of town buildings in Chatham and a couple in Harwich to give a feel for what is indoor air quality, what does it look like across buildings for those comparisons. We'll ultimately get reports back on those. Michael and I will sit down with Judy Giorgio from Chatham and the Harwich Health Director to just evaluate those, so the reports will go and say, is this elevated or not? But let's evaluate and decide, are there spots that we want to go back in, retest, or get more information on? So that's how we'll be addressing the air quality. And again, the tests will get posted online. And have I missed anything? Just, I guess, one last piece. One thing I really appreciated, I'm not sure Abby Dudley, who the middle school principal was sitting next to me at the meeting, appreciated, is I just had to kind of brace Abby. It's like, that, because I think the concern is, are you going to do this with kids in the building? Well, yes, and the project will be working with the contractor and our project manager to phase the project. So kids won't be in the area where the construction's happening. it'll be sealed off, so that there's no chance of mold, dust, debris, and everything getting into the air where the students and staff are. But it also means that things are going to be a little funky for a while we phase things. And it was interesting because we do have some old timers on our committee who have lived through the renovation and expansion of the Chatham Middle High School back in the day.
There were three of us. Well, at the meeting, there were three of us.
Okay.
Yeah, and Bob Stella, he was a teacher.
All talking about, it's like, I had to go and do this to get.
John Marks got to go in a van around. I'm like, what?
So,
Around the building.
but we will come up with a phasing strategy, and which, for me, I joke, it's, like my life keeps going in circles, and, my administrative career began with developing a phasing structure to go do a construction project in a building that was under renovation.
I would just say too, we want to set a baseline, so my takeaway was, because I think I said it and someone else, is that, okay, we just need to know, and then the building committee said, we need to determine if it's safe for the kids to be in school or not. How do we do that? How do we set that baseline? And Scott and Michael really did a great job with the air quality kind of research, setting the baseline for what it's going to look like, and then meeting with our local health department officials, which is the best way for someone to determine yes or no, and then you have some kind of support and reasoning for what you're doing and why, and then, if we have to close a room off or whatever it looks like, then we can take our next steps. And the building committee is in support of that, and I think we have really great kind of next steps in place to kind of get the best answers we can at the time, and then, keep moving forward, so.
And we'll be continuing that sampling regime each month, so it'll be the next quarter of the building. And again, each month, I'll be doing the same thing. We'll be doing outside samples, but we'll also go and do 2 more spaces in each one of our other schools, again, as a baseline of what does indoor air quality look like.
Yep, that's awesome.
Yeah. I just want to take the opportunity again to thank the 21 members of the building committee, because that is a volunteer role, and I just want to make sure the public knows how much time, including the 2 of you, because we're all volunteers around this table, and then you're adding something else. So I just want to thank the 21 members for stepping up. I've heard a lot of good feedback from people in the community that are putting their trust, and some of them came to the meeting and were very, very impressed by the talent, if you will, sitting around that table and the experts. And so I think everybody's feeling good about who's sitting around that table. So I just want to thank the 21 members for stepping up and doing what you're doing. So thank you.
Policy sub is on the list next. I don't know if we have any additional.
We do not, no.
All right, we're going to keep on moving. Representative report, Cape Cod Collaborative.
Yes. So it is with great pleasure that the Cape Cod Collaborative Board of Directors announces that Dr. Hope Hanscom has accepted the role of Executive Director, succeeding Paul Hilton, who is retiring after serving the Collaborative for 14 years. Hope has served as an Assistant Superintendent of Mashpee Schools since 2017. Her past roles have been as an Assistant Superintendent and Director of Special Education in West Bridgewater, a Principal and Program Coordinator at North River Collaborative, and a Special Education teacher in Brookline. Hope earned a BA from College of Holy Cross, a Master's from Dowling College in New York, a CAGS from Bridgewater State University, and a Doctor of Education from Northeastern University. Hope received the President's Award from the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents of May 2024, and the Assistant Superintendent Leadership Award in July of 2024. The board looks forward to welcoming Hope, and she had her first day on January 21st.
Great.
So that was wonderful. And I've been the representative for the collaborative for the last couple of years, which has been my honor. But my term is up this year, and I don't have plans to run for re-election. And so since Brad had expressed an interest in the collaborative, he will take over as the representative from now on.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it, and hope I can represent as well as Jess has, and
Yeah.
look forward to working with the new executive director.
Nice.
And thank you both for attending tomorrow on behalf of Monomoy, so thank you.
Okay. We're moving on to the superintendent's report, recognition of donations, grants, and other acknowledgements.
I'll be really brief. I definitely agree with Jess. I think the choice of Paul Hanson for the collaborative executive director is great. I enjoyed working with Paul Hilton over my 12 years here, and I wish Paul well in his retirement. And I did, in my email to the committee, make a mistake that the legislative breakfast tomorrow is at Dennis Sharman Intermediate Middle School, Cape Tech. So, you don't want to shove it in the wrong place. So it's at Dennis Sharman Intermediate Middle School at 8:30. Apparently, I am going to be giving an overview on special education, which I was tapping into the brilliance of Melissa prior to our meetings to be ready for that.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. We've had the presentation of the warrants. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Sorry.
Second. All in favor?